So with the team that I'm suggesting, it's just a lot of tier 1s and tier 3s, and then it's essentially optional if you want to go higher than that. The big core, start off trying to find Grilla and Chuko, and having them evolved up to Chikoro and Grilla. This activates Predator, where you then get Execution for both of these two Illuvials, where once they hit a certain threshold, they do bonus damage. So they can help your Penguin essentially clean up the fights. You grab the Tiru here as well as an additional rogue to join here, because you're leveling up and getting more rogues, you're getting more crit chance. That crit chance is what's critical in regards to getting Penguin really going crazy. You can add one more additional rogue here, and these are, again, they're all tier 1s. You can get these Illuvials right now for like under $1. It's stupid cheap. And this allows you to have a pivot or an option for your Ranger to now do Dust, which blinds enemy Illuvials near the Revo, near the Ranger, for example. First core Illuvial that you're going to need is going to be Slappin'. This is your carry. This is the heavy damage dealer. Make sure that you have the Stabbin'. We saw this one doing some good work here. Once it's evolved in the Stabbin', that's where Vanguard shows up. And when Vanguard shows up, if you have that active, you're getting, like, essentially your crit damage amplified based off of your tankiness. And then when you crit, it then does percentage health damage based off of your target. So it makes it so that regardless of how tanky your target is, you essentially 3-tap it. It's stupid, it's powerful, but it's what we've got to live with here for now. And then getting up to Slashin', this is the big boy. Big damage, it also becomes Frost as well, so not only does it do big damage, but it could also slow down attack speed of your opponents. It's crazy. So it is a very, very good squad to be picking on up here. The other Vanguard partner for Slashin' is Malura. You get the Lura. You end up getting the Lura here as well, but it doesn't really take into full effect until you do get Malura. That's where the Vanguard comes in. So you can naturally get Vanguard just by tier 3s. And you can then get 3 Vanguards by binding your Ranger based off of their weapon to one of your rogues. So if you have a tank weapon or a bulwark weapon, link it to a rogue and you get Vanguard. And then from there, if your Ranger is also a rogue, there you go. You've got 7 rogue, which means you get the best fully possible crit chance onto your team. Rogue units get double the amount, so 24% crit chance. That's 48% crit chance. And considering that Slashin' is going to be doing percent health damage on top of these crits, like I said before, it's stupid. Even Malura, this is meant to be your tank for the rogue team. It's 5-tapping things. So this is your wombo combo of sorts, not to mention the amount of disruption that Malura can do. If you're to go for one step further to maybe flush out the team a little bit more, I would then go for the Cling, potentially getting up to the Gnarl. So that's going to be Cling, Twine, especially Twine, and Gnarl. One of the most common builds that we do use this with is called Verdant Vanguard, where you get the Verdant Cleaver. You get this Verdant Cleaver, and it's a nature rogue weapon. And by binding it to the Twine, your Ranger, when it drops to, I believe it's, what, my 50%? Yeah, at 50%. The Verdant Puddle, what I call, ends up popping out. So under the Twine, there's a big healing zone that you sit in. And then your Ranger's diving in with the Rogues, right? So when it starts to drop to about 50% health, it then also drops the Verdant Puddle. Not only are you doing a ton of damage, but you're healing. It's very, very strong. If they evolve, are they still Rogue? Yes, they keep their original traits. So even though it says Vanguard, they still count as a Rogue. If you need to take a screenshot, this is the core. With Slashin', Malura, and then I would argue Twine being your core. And then the rest of the Illuvials kind of being the support. Essentially from there, you just are adding on additional support. And it honestly depends on how much you want to go bleed into. If you want a healer, an additional healer. If you want to go for the tier 5 option, Ador could potentially be an option because it heals your Illuvials regardless of where they are on the field. Always goes for the lowest ones. I wouldn't necessarily maybe worry about getting a Dorius because that's where things are going to get expensive, but at least get yourself maybe a little Ador or potentially an Adorito, because then its healing by itself is pretty decent. If you're expecting to go into a Rogue versus Rogue mirror match, the way that a lot of players are augmenting their Illuvials is for pure snowballing damage, and they're not playing very safe. So one way that you can screw with them is by committing to with what Revo's doing with Dust. So you could very well do it naturally through Ranger Weapon, but if you want an Illuvial that can do it regardless, bring Winks or bring Quinks in here. They sit into the back line and then just charm, but the thing is, this procs Dust with blinds. So if they're going to try and match you 1-for-1 with rogues, blind them. Give yourself maybe a couple of extra moments to maybe get your swings in, reposition. God forbid you're stabbing or you're slashing ends up getting focused. It could be enough to maybe let that fight happen. And then the big gun, we took a look and saw what Ramp Fight can do here. This is probably one of the most expensive Illuvials in the game, unfortunately. But we've seen exactly how much damage it could do if it gets the opportunity to sneak into the right spot. This is probably good enough as is. Let's say you want to ignore the Dust version and you want to go into Frost. This is another way that you can maybe screw with the rogues a little bit more, because your attacks will proc Frost onto your opponent, which reduces attack speed. You could pair up Slashin with a Jokul. It's a fighter, but it does have the Frost element attached to it. Jokul's very, very good, but it's a tier 4. So that's the gist of it. Oh, speaking of the Vine-Bound Cleaver, you know what? I'm going to turn to the dark side. I'm not going to guarantee that I'm going to execute this perfectly, but literally nobody else in this lobby is doing it. We'll see how this goes, because my rogues are not leveled. Alright, we can start getting ready to make some moves in just a minute. We're right around the corner from level 5. The way that I picture it in my head, because I need a ton of tier 1s, I'm going to pause at level 5, get them all at least into my middle stage evolutions, then move to 7, and then we really start playing like crazy for Lura and for Pengu. I'm going to line this up so that my rogues all dive in, but the Penguin's the last to arrive. Okay, Rotas, yep, there you are. Valente, you can be swapped out for a minute. Is anybody else going for Rogue, or are they going to let me do this for free? Yeah, this looks like it's essentially a best case scenario for me personally. Valente, I mean, sure, why not? Come on board. Slappin'. Rota. One thing I didn't get was Chuko, which is a little bit annoying, but I don't know if I necessarily want to wait around for it. I can still have the chance at hitting Chuko at level 7, actually, because that is a thing. I think you still have a 25% chance to hit tier 1s at level 7. So that might be a little bit of an imperfection that I did there. Maybe rather than sitting at level 5, I should have just power leveled up to 7 once I had max credits. It's a little annoying. Alright, there we go. The Coral is here. I have the Predator squad on board. One thing I could even do, because I don't have Twine yet, right? So I don't have Verdant actually active. So what I could be doing to optimize this even more is having my Rogue Ranger attached to another Rogue, and I would have triple Predator. So that'd be a bunch of additional execution on top of it, so 12% compared to 10%, and the damage is much higher. It's enough to get the squad kind of rolling here. Thank you, TNT, for holding the line with me. Yeah, there we go. Like, I'm at round 12. Very, very early, and I played this unoptimally. I'm level 7. I have 7 rogues on board, and a tank. And then now I essentially just roll at 7, right? And I'm just constantly repositioning to make sure that my Penguin is not the first one into the fight. I mean, Dash, you can come join. Replace Rogue for Rogue. And now the Verdant Vanguard, or the Verdant part of the Vanguard, is now online. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second. I have the Ranger leading as well as the Twine. They're all circling the Twine, but here comes the Verdant Puddle. This is now a perfect healing spot for my rogues to fight in, directly in the center of the arena. And the beautiful thing about this, like, look, this isn't even close. If I go over to where my Ranger is, they also have a puddle following them now if they drop below health. I am a mobile, healing, critting monstrosity, and my team is level 30. The biggest rush I have to worry about now is just finding stabbing and slashing. There's stabbing, and there's also an Ador, so I have some additional healing if I want to go that route. And we now have Vanguard online, so watch, this is going to get stupid. I just have to make sure I keep stabbing alive. The way that it's currently built, I do not have a safety net for it. Normally, I would want to have, if you combine the blue and the red augments, you can get the Brawler augment. And there's two options you can pick. There's one that's called the Phase Breaker that looks like a moon. And then there's a Restorating Impact Reactor that essentially lets you heal and get tankier on every single elimination. If I get that, then my Penguin is super safe. But watch, I'm going up against an Inferno team that's main idea is to try and kill me super, super quick. And I mean, because I'm not leveled, they're holding their own actually relatively decently. Nice shot there from the ramp fight. But yeah, we still win. Lura, there we go, finally. That, of course, is my other Vanguard. Tiru, switch up, please. So this is the tank of the Rogue Squad. Again, Penguin, last to arrive. I'm going to fling my Lura directly into the squad because of the way its Omega behaves. I'm completely content with keeping my Chuko as Chocoral in the middle stage evolution. I'm not going to be rolling or necessarily picking it up, but I guess if I am looking to play in like super optimally, situations where there's two of them on the bench like this, maybe I should pick it up just in case. I mean, Chakondi is a very, very strong Illuvial in its own right, don't get me wrong. Move these up, see what we get. Okay, let's see if I can get the emergency button. There we go, Phase Breaker for either the Untargetable or I can go for the Restorating. I'm going to keep my Rogue as a tank. I think we're going to try Phase Breaker. Do something like this, so if it does get targeted, it does get the opportunity to get out of dodge. Gladly keep picking up these Luras. And now this is where things start getting a little bit awkward, though, because if I don't find the Illuvials that I want quickly, I might get out-leveled. Yeah, there's that Untargetable coming on through. If I had this Penguin leveled, it could probably take that fight, but it's not going to. Okay, Penguin check. I think it's just me. Gat does have the Umber on the way, it looks like. But that's okay. Let's see. If I all in right now, what's it look like? Might be stupid, but I'm going to sell the Adorito for now. Okay, slashing next time by. Phase Breaker needs to bail me out there. There we go. Right on top, the Verdant Puddle. Perfect. Alright, slashing is here now. Now you can see my slashing, I mean, it's not the greatest in terms of tank, but at least I have attack speed. Alright, Big Gnarl is here. But yeah, this is basically the kind of race that you're going to be expecting to play when playing this team composition. It's a race to get slashing. The fact that I did all in to get slashing is going to put me into a good spot power-wise, but I have to worry about levels. And then abilities are still going to absolutely crush me. We see here with the slashing. Thankfully, I was able to survive the shenanigans coming out there from that ramp fight. I need to wait for Jafalfi to die for these lures to come on through, so I'm not going to spend yet. If I can get the jump nice and quickly onto the Ranger, that'll be nice. That's already a proc here for my Echoing Force Reactor. Assuming I get the hit. No, he didn't actually get a hit at all, so that's kind of annoying. And then slashing, because of course it gets that extra range as soon as it pops its Omega, it's more prone to finding a safe spot to just sit and start swinging. And then I am getting killed, but here's the thing to consider. The reason that it's even close right now is because I'm not leveling. Like, look. That was done with a level 40 slashing. Something that you could literally just go into the Illuvidex at a minimum. Slashing is level 40. And now that Jafalfi's gone, all those Laluras are back in the pool. Yeah, 25k damage on a very basic slashing. Not leveled. Now we get into Crazy Town. So now that Malura is here, again, level 40, as basic as a Malura that I could potentially even find. This is going to get nasty. Going to make Malura immune so it always gets its stun off. Screw with their healer. Field, let's make you tanky, even more tanky. The dual Vanguard combo going to be coming on forth here in just a second. In fact, let's move this over here. I want Malura to hopefully tank this Forest. Yep, that's fine. Blow up my Twine or my Gnarl. I do not care. That is fine by me. Give me a better angle on this here. Malura holding everybody up on the top-hand side. And target ability, going to let my Slashing go absolutely crazy. Just outside the burst damage of that. No, it is actually going to end up going down. But here's the thing. Malura is still relatively decent. Big damage, get rid of the healer. In the verdant puddle. That was close. Way closer than it should have been. Ramphy. My turn to go play with some fire. And that was very close with Illuvials that I literally could have just pulled out of the Illuvidex. Okay, Malura. If you can find a hole there, that would be nasty. Give me that big charm here, Malura. No, that's going to be the dual F beam going directly into my Slashing. Nicely played. So one of the things you will have to do is, like we saw with that last battle, is to try and mitigate big spellcasts that try to go for the furthest Illuvial away. Because I didn't do that very well, I left my Slashing open to getting completely crushed. And I think I'm still going to end up losing. I'm not going to get the chance to do it. I'm going to fall in third, but again, with this example, realize that this is just a team that essentially came right off the Illuvidex and had no levels put into it. You can absolutely perform better with this. Like, look at these levels. Lots of experience for everybody, though. I'm very happy to see that. But optimally, if you're playing in tournament play, you want at least level 45 plus, right? Or as high as you could potentially get. And I'd argue that was still a relatively good display.